Our society is faced with an overwhelming amount of data. We've created a world with 300 exabytes. That's 3 with 20 zeros, in case you're wondering. Pieces of human-made information. Our next speaker is a simplicity expert who coaches and speaks about how to uncomplicate your environment, which is the most essential skill to have these days in our busy world. She has directly helped over 100 people from more than 6 countries to gain and keep this clarity. With her Dutch heritage and 2 masters in biology and environmental science, she's the person to show you how to unclog so you can take back control of your life. She's here today while wearing her clogs to provide you with the insight on how we overwhelm ourselves and the solution we all need for a more simple life. Would you please welcome to the stage, Eve Broenland.
I'm Dutch, and I really fit all the stereotypes here. I love riding my bike, especially when it's going to the shops to get some cheese. I'm pretty tall, and have you noticed that I'm actually wearing clogs? On heels though. And if you're ever wondering if the rumor about the Dutch and that we split the bill at the end of the night is actually true, I'd say, take me out for dinner. Every 2 days, as a society, we now create more data than we did for our entire civilization up to 2013. I'm Eve Broenland. I'm a simplicity expert, which means I help to make people's lives less complicated. Because do you sometimes feel overwhelmed by everything you've got going on? We are surrounded by ever-increasing information and options to choose from. And with the rate that it's going, we can only imagine how much more that is going to be in the future. And that is overwhelming because we have to find a way to navigate through processing all that information and then being able to make the decision that is right for you. So I have found that it is essential to unclog. Unclogging is the process where you take back control of your life by getting rid of what's not important to you. Research shows us that unlimited choices does not make us happy. We believe that our freedom of choice and making our own decisions in line with our individual preferences, that is going to increase our happiness. And that is supported by the entire economic market who's out there to provide you with every single option out there that you need or you think you might need. Because this is what you see every week when you walk into the supermarket. On average, supermarkets now carry 42,000 different products. And Starbucks proudly advertises a choice between 80,000 different drinks combinations. Can you imagine what that does to you every single week when you make your decisions? It actually leads to 3 things: decision paralysis, disappointment, and shitty coffee. But seriously, with all those options out there, how do you even make a choice? And if you do, how do you know you made the right one? About 8 years ago, I lived in a remote town in Western Australia. And I mean really remote. Our town only had 100 residents. And the local supermarket there only stocked about 2 choices of milk, a couple of chocolates, and if you're lucky on truck delivery day, you could choose between a handful of different ice creams. Can you imagine how simple that would be? Because after I finished my 2 masters in the Netherlands, I was lucky to have landed my first job as the environmental advisor on a salt mine in Shark Bay World Heritage Area. One of the most unique parts of the world. For 4 years, my husband and I lived in a town called Eustace Loop, 900 kilometers north of Perth. And I could just remember driving into Shark Bay for the first time and seeing the turquoise waters and the landscape opening up for me. And I never took living there for granted. It was an absolute privilege, and I could have lived there for the rest of my life. But my career goals led us to Perth, because the company promoted me to environmental manager, sitting in Perth office overseeing both the salt operations that they owned. And I was so proud and stoked. I was proud of myself. This is what I was working for. I studied 7 years for this, and I was really excited. Fast forward to Wednesday, the 6th of March, 2014. It is the day before I turn 32. Stop thinking, I'm 36 now. But now, after living in Perth for 2 years, it didn't feel that exciting anymore. Life got really busy with work and social activities and sports, and my husband and I, we even started running our own martial arts school while both still working full time. And quite often on a Sunday afternoon, I'd suddenly find myself in tears, overwhelmed, and not knowing what to do. And as these sudden moments of unhappiness, I couldn't explain them. I thought perhaps they were hormonal, that without any reason I would suddenly feel so overwhelmed and unhappy. This day before my birthday, I took the afternoon off to go and see a naturopath, because I thought perhaps she would be able to help me. As I walk in, I get greeted with a beautiful warm smile, and she sits me down. And without any judgment, she's asking me, "Why are you here? What do you do? What's really going on?" And besides the mood swings that I explain to her, I tell her, "My life's fantastic. I've got a wonderful husband. I love my house and my dogs. I've got a well-paying job in a field that I studied 7 years for. And I've got friends and family around me that love and support me." But about 20 minutes in the conversation, she looks up from her notes and she asks me, "Who would you be if we would strip away all those achievements?" I was completely taken back by that, and I did not know how or what to answer. And tears started running down my face. What would you answer to a question like that? Those achievements was everything I was working for. I considered that part of my life, and I was proud of that. Who would I be without that? But at that moment, I realized that my environment could never make me happy. It was up to me. So I started my own journey to unclog. I started to figure out what wasn't working for me and strip that away. I took a pay cut. I started working less. I learned about minimalism and starting to apply those principles. But most of all, I started to learn about myself, what I wanted and I needed. Because I did not want to have my environment dictate my life any longer. Do you know that the French word for clog is sabot? It stems from the industrialization era, where Dutch woodworkers put clogs in the machines that their employers purchased, so they literally sabotaged the machines so they could keep their jobs. And unclogging is all about stop sabotaging yourself. Because we do. We sabotage ourselves because we don't know what is important to us. And that leads to two things. We keep too many options, and therefore we're feeling overwhelmed, and we are not aligning our actions with our beliefs. Both those things making us unhappy. So today I want to teach you how you can unclog. That's the simple way. But there's actually a little bit more work involved. But rather than a drain clogging up, I want your life to feel at ease and in flow. So this is the side, or not, yes. This is the cycle that you're in if you're clogged. You have a certain way that you're thinking, and that thinking is based on your belief system. That then leads to how you view the world, your perspective. And that leads to the things you do. Your thinking leads to your view, your perspective, and that leads to your actions. You think, you view, and you do. And that is a cycle that continues, perhaps on a subconscious level. But you are able to flip this around. Let's start from the top again. Rethink. Rethinking is all about understanding yourself more. Figure out what is important to you. And by doing that, you also gain more awareness of what's going on in your mind, and you can actively work creating more positive thoughts. Mary Poppins used to say, in every job there must be done, there is an element of fun. You find the fun and snap, the job's a game. Because perhaps you've been in a situation where you could look at it from a different perspective. Perhaps you missed a bus in the morning and you just enjoyed that sunshine for a bit longer. It's super simple and effective, and positive psychologists refer to this process as learned optimism. So that's the rethinking. Redoing. Redoing is all about different actions. It is now time to align your actions with your beliefs, because knowledge is worthless if you don't put it into practice. One of the things I can highly recommend as a simplicity expert is assess your belongings. By physically going through what you have surrounded yourself with, you have no other option than to be real with yourself. Perhaps you're holding on to goals that you set for yourself when you were in your 20s. Or perhaps you might still have hobbies laying around that you really don't have time for anymore. The redoing is all about different actions and committing to putting into practice what you know about yourself. I think we might have to look at this battery. Well, you can think that the last one is reviewing. Reviewing is all about taking a step back. We got there. And reviewing is all about taking a step back and committing to yourself. What is important to you? Put yourself first. Could be as simple as taking something every day for 10 to 20 minutes and do something that lights you up. So if you follow these three processes, rethinking, redoing, and reviewing, you'll be able to be in control of your life and your environment rather than your environment controlling you. You'll be able to make better decisions for yourself because automatically your options would have reduced because you know what is not important to you. You are able to take care of your future, of your life for now and in the future. That is what unclogging does.
Well done.
Thank you.